Hey everybody, Neil Thompson, founder of Teach the Geek here. I work with technical professionals on their presentation skills, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. I did a poll not too long ago, maybe a few months ago, and I was asking the question, what can people who give technical presentations do to improve them, especially in front of non-technical audiences? And the results were actually rather interesting. So I'll go through a couple of them. Well, I'll go through all of them. I don't know why I would go through a couple, not all of them. So one of the options that was available to be chosen was less technical jargon. So what can you do to improve a technical presentation, especially in front of non-technical audiences? Use less technical jargon, and that received 28% of the votes. And here's a quote from one of the people who picked that option. When I speak with non-technical attendees, usually C-level people, I have found offering non-technical, commonplace analogies are most helpful. It's most useful to the audience when trying to unravel the alphabet soup we techies consume every day. I can attest to this alphabet soup this commenter spoke of. There were a number of terms that I would use just regularly amongst my peers that perhaps people from outside of that group would know. And if I were to use those terms when giving presentations to those people, well, they're likely going to tune out because they have no clue what I'm talking about. Or they could ask after the presentation what all those terms mean. And that basically means that it's indicative of the fact that they weren't paying attention or just didn't understand the presentation. So essentially, I wasted everybody's, well, not me, but the technical presenter wasted everyone's time, wasted his time in putting the slides together, putting his presentation together, and wasted the audience's time in not explaining what these terms actually mean. And that's so unfortunate, and it's avoidable because if you just take the time to realize that you weren't always an expert in your field, there were all these terms that you know now you didn't always know. So have some empathy for the people that are listening to your presentations now because they are where you once were, a novice, a newbie, just someone who didn't know. So put your presentations together in such a way that you actually use words that these people will understand. I mean, wouldn't you have wanted the same courtesy when you didn't know? I don't think enough of us really pay attention to that type of thing, and we should. The next option they had was use of storytelling. So if you use more storytelling in your technical presentations, it's way more likely that non-technical audiences will listen. And this one actually got 66% of the vote. And here's one commenter's comment. 100% storytelling. Our brains are hardwired to follow stories. It's how we learn best. I literally see my audience lean forwards and listen every time I tell a story. The more emotional the story, the more people remember it. They don't remember data. It's very difficult to remember data unless it's super compelling data, I suppose. I mean, there certainly could be exceptions, but I think this commenter is right. The use of stories is way more helpful in helping people to actually remember what you said. And so ironic about that is when I first started giving presentations, I thought that telling stories was inappropriate when giving technical presentations. I thought it was all about the data and presenting the data and basically saying what the data means. But if you're able to couch that data in stories, it's way more memorable. And that's something that I came to learn eventually. It certainly wasn't and something I knew initially. But I fully agree with this commenter. And that's probably why 66% of the people voted for storytelling. The next option was kind of a catch-all. And basically, if you didn't agree with technical jargon being the issue or storytelling being the issue, then this was, I guess, the catch-all. I called it other. And 6% voted for other. And one person noted, the best presentations are interactive. Give your audience something to do. Call on the crowd. I remember presentations from years ago that had interactive components. That's a really good point. So being interactive with the audience is well, that doesn't that's not storytelling, it's not technical jargon, but it certainly could be another avenue to keep a non-technical audience interested in a technical presentation. Certainly, if you know that you could potentially be called on, maybe you actually try to pay attention because you don't want to be caught flat-footed if asked a question, if pointed to. Certainly, you don't want to get embarrassed. But yeah, that's definitely something that I could see being beneficial to keeping the audience's attention, a non-technical audience's attention. Just calling on people, asking questions, just having people engaged in the actual presentation so that they don't feel like they're just sitting there being spoken to, but they're actually a part of the conversation. They're a part of the presentation. They feel that way. Perhaps they are way more likely to actually listen. So that was that particular poll. I found it really interesting that, well, 66%, like 2/3 of the people thought that storytelling was so important when it comes to technical presentations. And I can certainly see that. I definitely saw that in the presentations that I give, the importance of telling stories. I do quite a bit of it now when I give presentations, and especially in front of non-technical audiences. But then also the use of technical jargon. That's something that you should look at as well and try to minimize, especially if it's rather clear that the terms that you're using, they're not used in regular parlance. So people are likely not going to understand what you're talking about, especially if you're using a whole bunch of acronyms. It's like, I have no clue what that meant. You don't want to be that presenter. And then this other idea of keeping a presentation interactive, that's a great idea as well, just to keep people on their toes, just in case you get called on. You gotta know, you gotta be ready for that. So again, my name is Neil Thompson, founder of Teach the Geek. Thanks for sticking with me for this long. Hopefully it wasn't too painful. I work with technical professionals so that they can present more effectively, especially in front of non-technical audiences. And you can learn more about that at teachthegeek.com. Again, that's teachthegeek.com. And always remember to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Every little bit helps. Thanks, and have a great day.